Dragons. Terrifying monsters, winged beasts. Featured in countless sagas and legends, each time spreading fear and terror.
In the case of the dragon, by now it's all about tyranny and hoarding. But that's not what it was originally about.
Whether in the Song of the Nibelungs or the battle between Hercules and the Hydra, dragons are an integral part of culture and history all over the world.
People believed so strongly in the existence of dragons that they could present real evidence for their existence and then believe it.
From a scientific point of view, dragons are mysterious creatures.
You mentioned that people from the Middle Ages wouldn't have known this creature. Precisely.
Were dragons modeled after something real?
Dragon. If you so will, there are little dragons all over the world.
For centuries, they have been the source of fear and fascination. But what is the secret behind the myth of the dragon? Great myths of humanity. For thousands of years, they have captivated and mystified us, fueling our imaginations. But what if the legends are more than just stories? Researchers from across the globe are trying to unravel the great mysteries of history. So the origins of the fire-breathing dragon don't come from the animal kingdom, but have been conjured up by humans. Since the dawn of time, fire and heat have played a key role throughout human history. Over 1 million years ago, the first humans only had access to fire with the help of naturally occurring wildfires. It was not until 30,000 years ago that our ancestors learned how to make fire themselves. Without fire, it wouldn't be possible to cook food, have protection, or see in the dark. Everything that makes humans human has to do with fire.
On one hand, the fire breathed by dragons is a representation of knowledge. And on the other, it's energy. But this is exactly what dragons represent: the knowledge of how energy takes form. So they become symbols of wisdom, and they become breathers of fire, breathers of knowledge.
It is no wonder that many dragons are said to have had healing properties.
Siegfried achieves his greatest feat with a sword. He defeats the dragon, an opponent far superior. In the Middle Ages, dragons are more than just mythical creatures. People actually believe that they exist. They represent the ultimate evil. Churchgoers believe they have been sent by the devil. Stories of dragon slayers like St. George depict the victory of good over evil. The myth is fueled by bones that are inexplicable to our ancestors. It is not until the modern period that researchers start to investigate these bones. At first, they believe they are dealing with elephant femurs or the teeth of prehistoric giants. In 1824, British geologist William Buckland is the first to attribute a jawbone to an entirely new species of animal. He says his find is part of a gigantic reptile that he calls Megalosaurus. Dinosaur research is born.
Can you imagine finding dinosaur bones? This happened all over the world in ancient times, and they didn't know about dinosaurs or evolution. So it was easy for them to project the dragons on those, which they did.
The dragon, the sword, Siegfried's feat. If we can find explanations for some of the most fantastic details of the myth, the gold has to exist for certain.
There's also another, albeit more imaginative, link between Alexander and Nectanebo II.
According to the Ptolemies, the true father of Alexander is the exiled pharaoh Nectanebo II, who appeared to his mother is a god. This god took the form of a dragon, which is consistent with the story that his father told about finding his mother sleeping with a dragon.
In 2015, historian Julien Douy compared the characteristics of dragons described in legends coming from 23 different cultures. He is in pursuit of the very first dragon, as described in the earliest tales. For this purpose, he uses an evolutionary biology method to reconstruct family trees. Based on his findings, the origin of the myth lies in southern Africa. What did the first ever dragon look like? A hairy horned serpent.
Before we could even stand on 2 feet, we were afraid of snakes. And this fear went with us everywhere we went. And in every dragon story, this fear is there. Fear of what was one of the most scary predators in the world.
So is the dragon myth based solely on the age-old fear of snakes? This theory seems to be confirmed by the origins of its name. The word dragon is derived from drakon, the ancient Greek word for stiff-eyed beast or serpent. There are very few myths that are so complex, disproved, and yet somehow true. The dragon is and remains a part of the history of humanity, and almost all over the world.
Myths carry more truth than history. And sometimes that means they have to be different than history because they're focused on carrying the insights from our spiritual understandings, from our philosophical discoveries. So the dragon is a real memory of real snakes, but it's also a symbol that carries our own philosophical insights and spiritual understandings.
So from a biological standpoint, dragons are really just figments of our imagination. But from a cultural perspective, they are much more than that. Symbols for the fight of good against evil, emblematic of humankind's longing for magical powers. A reminder of our powerlessness in the face of nature.